Hello and welcome to SHOWstudio. This is our second head-to-head dedicated to men's fashion weeks. We're going to discuss Milan today. I'm Mimma Viglezio and I welcome back the great Stavros Karelis. Thank you for being back.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to discuss Milan, and Milan is usually the, classic commercial place, let's say, or the Prada place, which in a way continues to be, luckily, but there is this new kid on the street, on the block, coming up called Sunnei A, this brand that was very much the talk in town this season, founded barely 3 years ago by two young boys, men from southern Italy originally, Loris Messina and Simone Rizzo, who are originally marketeers. One was working as a merchandiser, I think a visual merchandiser at Gucci. And they have launched this collection. It's all about their narrative. It's all about being happy, being natural, being spontaneous. They work very much with not logos, but statements, and they make fun of things. And it works.
Yes.
Actually, their first collection was sold for $500,000 or something like that, which is a lot of money for a first collection, first 2 years. So my thing is the following, and since I'm talking to someone who spots talent and is very, very quick in embracing things that seems weird, and so what about Sunnei? What do you think?
Well, it's a bit tricky for me, to be honest, because coming across with Sunnei and looking at it, don't get me wrong, I see a really nice collection, see things that they are very well put together, and it makes sense. It's something easy, it's something wearable, it's something that I guess people, can buy. To me specifically, it's always very important to understand the message and understand the connection, understand the world, the creative world that a designer belongs to.
Okay, so what's the message here?
That's my tricky situation, because I cannot really clearly see the whole visual language. I mean, I can see that approach that is basically a bit like teasing, a bit fun. I mean, I see the logos that they have changed it from like we all should be feminist to we should be sunny, Tom Forever from my space, yes. I can tell their references. What I cannot tell at the moment, for me specifically, is what is the brand about.
Well, which brings me to talk about what I think it's a kind of laziness, but not only in the designers or designing world, but also in, I don't know, the buyers, but the press, because probably Milan needs something new, Milan needs something younger and fresh.
I agree.
And this is it.
Yeah.
And again, there's nothing wrong. These kids are cool kids, dressed in a way that it's fun, but they're just wearing clothes, which is what Vetements did. So, Vetements gave these kids the possibility of doing that, except that Vetements did it better. But that's another discussion, that's another panel. So I think this is more styling and marketing than fashion.
I think so too.
I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm wondering, will this bring fashion forward? With a capital F.
You put it in a very right perspective here, because it's not when we talk about fashion and emerging designers and young brands, is what the brand has been created to do. I mean, when I'm thinking about it, is if the commercial aspect is very, very important to them, and they just want to become this brand that is selling a lot of quantities, applied to a wide range of customers, but they don't need to become the next designers that are going to change things.
Why would anybody pay for that hoodie or those yellow trousers? Probably 250, 350. instead of buying them at H&M. So what's the difference? I mean, I haven't seen it, so maybe
Yes.
did you see it?
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't
So
there.
maybe they're made fantastically well.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are, because you can tell that there is specifically with this type of brands, the actual garments are made really well. In
so
production,
that's a
I'm
good
thinking,
reason.
yes, I'm pretty sure that the production also has been sorted, because also with both designers' backgrounds, I think that they would have paid detail into what's happening. And I think you put it right in the beginning, that I think every fashion week right now needs to come out with what's the new blood, what's the emerging designers that we have to showcase. It's great that we have the Versace and Prada and everyone else here, but actually, if you look at the official schedule, who is the young designer? What is the proposal about?
There's a problem with Milan.
Yes. So I think also this is what happened in a lesser extent with Paris Fashion Week at some point. Before Vetements, if you saw the official schedule of Paris, there wasn't anything that was coming out super strongly from the emerging designer scene. And I think that this is what's happening right now with Milan. They somehow, when the journalists, press and buyers are there, they need to apart from reporting about all the big ones, they have to report about a young one at least that captures the vibe where the city is, what they're doing, what they like. To me, it's a bit too commercial. Too commercial in the sense that there are quite a few things that perhaps I have seen or experienced elsewhere. So, which my message there is a bit more clear. When, I mean, if I think someone like Gosha, for example, that I can see and I can tell a few references here.
Can you?
Yes, I can. Yeah, of course. And then,
so that's the reference. I mean, I couldn't even find the real reference.
It's a lot of different small things that you can read through it. But there are a lot of brands right now that they're doing a similar thing. The difference between those brands is that who is genuine, who is doing it for the right reasons, has a bigger story to tell here, and who is doing it because it's just trendy, it's just because it's hyped, it's just because this is what a buyer is going to ask you, that this is what I want from a store. That's not the right story. The right story is the designer proposes, the buyer chooses from that proposal. If they don't like the buyers, they can move somewhere else. But you cannot play the game reversed, because if you try to satisfy...
That's very interesting. Can you explain it better?
Yes.
So, what do you mean by the other way around?
I'll explain to you. I have quite a few designers that they come to me and they say, emerging designers, of course, and young designers, and they say, my collection is so machine A. And I'm like, really?
Why?
You know why is machine A? And they show me something that is like completely wrong for me. And what I'm saying by that is that you, as a designer, you cannot satisfy the buyers. You cannot satisfy the press as well. You cannot design a collection thinking about
to please Stavros and machine A.
Yeah, or to please Dover Street, or to please Bergdorf and Goodman or Barney's.
Or the reviewer.
Yes, you cannot think that way. What you can think is that I'm going to do something, and if it works, it's going to work for everyone, or for the few selected stores that I'm planning to put my collection, understand it, get it, and they go full support behind it, showing the whole real world of mine. Now, that's the big difference here. I've seen designers that they're designing specifically for shops, and always, and this is the biggest part that is very, very tricky, and they have to be very careful about that, is that what happens when that store drops you? Because it can happen. If your sales somehow decline, a store after a few seasons can say, I'm not working with you anymore.
You can keep the real estate for someone
if you have built your whole brand based on one store or one aesthetic, what happens to you after that?
Yeah, but also apart from that, which is a practical way of seeing it, whatever you do, if you're a creative in any field, then whatever you do is done with an objective that it's not something that comes from within you, then it can't work anyway. Then it's not honest, it's not credible. I think I read a few things that these two guys said. I like them. I mean, I think they're quite honest, and it's quite them, which for me it's a good point, and maybe they will develop more of a signature. What I miss here, and you said it very beautifully, is what's your message? Why? Is it about having a carefree style in Milan, and we're going into my next topic about Milan, which is exactly the opposite, and Milan needs something like that? Or is it a new fashion that you believe, will bring it forward? There are a few references also. There's even the hats that Stephen did for Marc Jacobs a year ago. I mean, I think it's ironical, but I haven't decided yet.
But in order for me to be ironic and take an irony into what's happening in the current fashion system, I think you have to push it in that level where you go there and the irony it's 100% present as well.
Clear,
and very clear that I'm here to do this. And create a challenge, because you cannot play both ways. You cannot play, the safe way and also to challenge and have an irony. You're going to be or safe or, you will
But it's
create
funny
an
because
irony.
here I see more irony than anything else.
Yes.
So I think, I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
I say safe.
To keep an eye on it, and the press liked it.
I agree with you.
The press, they've a little bit followers sometimes, and they all now decided that this is the thing to talk about in Milan, and here we are talking about it as well.
And they also have said that they got big in South Korea, which is actually, for me, is a market that I respect a lot in some ways, because they have a very good take an aesthetic on clothes in quite a lot of times.
They as the South Korean?
As South Korean, yeah. So they said that, Sunnei brand said that, that was our first market that picked up on us through like social media and Instagram. I think that the guys are doing a great job, and I think, as you said, they have all the elements around them. You can see a good take on clothes, they look good, press loves them, buyers are there and supporting them, they have a very good list of stores. I think that as soon as they connect all these elements in a stronger way and go out with a very strong message, I think this is perhaps when it connects and shows us the real message behind it, something that perhaps you and I cannot see at this stage.
Yeah, that's very possible. So to be continued.
Yes.
Then Milan. So apart from the new designer of Palzileri, who I think, I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, who I think did a good job, there was not many newness, not big newness in general. Probably the most futuristic show was Fendi with this new way of bonding fur instead of stitching it. I don't think that fur is futuristic in itself. I think it's the passé, but they had this take into and even Silvia Venturini Fendi said the future and the past are both futuristic or something like that. So she mixed, some references of her own brand from the past and with new technologies on working, especially with leather and fur. And I think the collection was interesting. It was quite surprising for Fendi.
I agree with you.
I never really cared about Fendi men, and I thought this was noticeable, which is a good thing.
I completely agree with you. Actually, I didn't know you would talk about Fendi, and one of the collections that I've seen, and I as soon as I saw it, I said, that's very interesting. Exactly what you said for Fendi, to do that, and I think the presentation is also something that. Because I think many designers, many big powerhouses did in Milan this season when they went back to some original roots there.
Well,
and I can
talk about Prada and Versace.
Yes, and we see, and I saw in Fendi, that's kind of like the right way to do it.
Yeah.
You go back to the archives, but actually you bring them with a very new way out. That's a right thing. We were talking about Raf Simons very recently, and we're saying that he's someone that recently has brought back a few of the things from his past collections, but he's connected them with something that is super current, and this is why it looks so fresh and new. Let's talk about the other ones.
Well, but I want to build on this, because I have this impression that the fact that especially the established brands and designers are following this trend of quoting themselves, mentioning themselves, like using their past as a reference for what they're doing and making it relevant and fresh again, could be a sign of this heavy reference fatigue, or the fact that they need to show what they did first, because there is so much referencing, i.e. copying going on, that maybe, you know, the Miuccias of the world and the Ruffs, you know, those people, even Mr. Armani, and I'm going into his show soon because there's something quite clever about that. These people, they need to, and Donatella, of course, with their brother, legacy and everything, they need to show that they've done it first. So it's not only about Demna and Alessandro anymore, but it's about themselves.
I'll say something. I mean, those three. I think there are like three different cases that have been put on the table. I mean, if I see Raf, Miuccia, and Donatella Versace, for example, Raf has an extremely unique take on things when he does them, and when he decides to bring back an idea in his collection, it never is the same. It has been developed in such an extent where, you know, it's a completely new way of showing things, and it always a reason behind it, and it's not a commercial reason behind it. It's always connected with something bigger of a storytelling that he needs to say again. I mean, that's my experience, at least so far with the brand. With Miuccia Prada, I'm a huge fan. I mean, it's for me, there are two shows that I always check every single season, you know, to understand what is going to happen for the next 6 months. Prada and Raf Simons, those two. I have to say, and I'm really sorry about what I'm going to say, is that I wasn't a fan of Prada show this season. And everyone else jumped and said, you know, this show is incredible. And I looked at it and I really wanted to love it, but I couldn't because perhaps it's a buyer that came out of me.
Yeah,
and
so
he said,
tell me why, I'm interested.
I'll tell you what, I think as a collection, absolutely beautiful. She could have done, I mean, it's nylon, it's Prada, it's everything that everyone wants by Prada. So great. To me, it yells at me that we need to make sales. And that I don't like, because a brand and on the status of someone like Prada or someone like the big ones, I don't want to see any type of insecurity there. I want to feel secure when I see a collection. Miuccia Prada has one, and sorry, because I need to finish that, because I don't want to be misunderstood, because that could be very misunderstanding thing what I'm saying.
It's very clear what you're saying.
You know, but what I'm trying to say with Miuccia Prada, she belongs to the people that she pushes the boundaries. You know, everyone else is waiting on her to be, that's my world. For me, that seems easy. You know, it seems easy in a way of, you know, yes, of course, nylon is Prada. And of course, you know, everyone expects that it's going to look really, really beautiful. But also the references of the fabrics on the previous extremely successful collections, it's again shows to me a bit of an easiness, which sometimes designers are allowed to. But when you're in the status and the caliber of Miuccia Prada, I want to see fashion. And I want to see fashion because she's the only one that she can do it right now with a few others.
Okay, there's nothing, not a word you said in the past 3 minutes that I don't agree with, so I am with you, but my role here is to be the devil's advocate, so I'm going to say this. Go. Would you say the same even if you didn't know that Prada has had some negative growth in the past few years? Would you say the same if there wasn't this? Well, no, let's answer that one first. Yes. Because also, I agree with you, and I think it's sad when someone at the caliber of Miuccia has to do that. I don't think she wants to do that, but she has a company, which is quite big. She has a husband who's, by the way, I noticed that now she has the titles co-CEO, which she didn't. She was only the creative director. So. And, you know, so there is a moment where you say, if we don't sell because we're not relevant anymore, maybe let's try and do what was relevant.
That's insecurity.
Well, yeah, it's also realism.
It is realism, you're right.
You know, it is, I know what you say, and I agree with you, but I'm trying to be, you know, what's the alternative, going bust? No, of course not. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, of course, everyone knows that, you know, the growth and how much everyone needs to grow. And of course, the competition is huge at the moment in the market. But I think that I would make that comment regardless, because I made that comment earlier on, and I said that my problem at the moment with the big ones
is that I see an overall insecurity that they start looking a lot like the young ones, like the emerging ones, the emerging brands, emerging designers. And I think, you know, that everywhere the commercial directors have to understand, wherever they are, in whichever companies they're placed, that the reason is that you cannot look left and right.
Yeah.
You have to look inside you, and you have to look like as a company, because what is relevant is not already existing in your company. You know, you have to find it out there.
But I need to interrupt you
Yes.
here, because I think Prada's problem today is that, and I'm going to use a word that makes me cringe, but it's like that, it's not considered cool by the millennial. So two words that make me cringe. And let me explain to you why I think. Prada struggles to talk to the young people, which is what Gucci has done perfectly done, you know?
Yeah.
But Gucci doesn't do it only by creating a certain type of collection and styling it in a certain way. It's not only Alessandro's fashion, it's also Alessandro's language in his communication. And they're not forcing it. People will say, Mimma, you don't get it, it's marketing. But anyway, it doesn't feel forced. They're really talking not only to the young people, but with them. You know, all their collaborations, whatever. Prada, which for people like you and me and people in the industry or women my age is, you know, the epitome of elegance. Of course. Not cool, but elegance, fashion, whatever. For those young people, it's not that it's not, they don't know it because they haven't started speaking the language. And it's not only about the fact that they were slow to go to the internet, they were slow to sell online, of course, all of these. But even if now they sell online, they do not speak millennial language. And so I'm not sure that doing nylon again, because we were mad about our nylon backpack. My niece, who's 21, doesn't care about the Prada nylon backpack.
But I so much agree. I agree with you in every single point you made. My discussion and my debate in my mind about Prada is that she can still do the nylon. She can still do all what she's done in this collection, which is great. But she can present it, you know, if she wants to do the sales, so she wants to do the commercial success in a much different way. Because when it comes down on the catwalk, and again, when I see it, I see a beautiful done collection. But for me, she always push. Yes, of course. And she always push the boundaries so far. And if she's not going to be able to do it, and if few others are not be able to do it, then we're heading somewhere where the customers are dictating the designers what job they need to do, and the designers, especially on
That's a big statement.
You know, and designers have to remain on their feet, on the ground. What means a few seasons down?
Could Miuccia's creativity be tired or exhausted?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that that exactly financial, no pressure, but perhaps decline, you know, and pressure, you know, might have gone into the whole questioning in terms of like what we should show in a catwalk. But this woman has changed the fashion, you know, the way we know it. I mean, there isn't anyone else that probably you can think like.
For designers, yes, she's one of the biggest references.
I mean, for everyone, this woman is she's amazing.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
She's a goddess in when it comes down to the fashion industry.
Even Miuccia is a human being, and she's confused by what's going on.
And that's why she needs to.
It's not. She's in her late 60s. It's not her language. I tell you, it's not easy.
Yes, but I think that so far she's a teacher, and she has taught us a language, and that's why I think that she can teach the millennials very well about what is cool.
If she talks to them.
Yeah, but
she's not talking to them.
Yeah, she probably might.
I hope so. I still love Prada.
Yes.
But you know, I'm certainly not a millennial, so.
Me neither.
I would like to say a word or two about Armani. I never discuss Armani. We never discuss Armani because people say like it's boring, and I'm going to tell you why I want to say a word or two about Armani. First of all, he changed the face of ready-to-wear 50 years ago, or whenever it was. And you know, that has some merit, and that's why it's still a brand that has a turnover of billions. You know, we're talking close to 10 billion. So, you know, we can say it's boring and I don't care as much as we want, but it's a big pillar in the economy of fashion.
100%.
I thought it was pretty weird. I mean, it starts with this American gigolo look back kind of style, which is not very different than that, you know, with the corduroy and the velvet and the deconstructed jacket, which is a very, him too, you know, like I invented the deconstructed jacket, with some try to be, you know, cooler in the styling, and to get into suits with shirts and ties that are suits with shirts and ties the way they have been for 300 years. And so here they are. So it was quite shocking because people were even afraid of pronouncing the word tie in the past 2-3 seasons. We don't even know if people, I mean, there are people still dressing like that to go to work because there are still lawyers and bankers and stuff like that. But is it relevant to put them on the catwalk without really changing anything? I'm not disturbed by them, they're beautiful, but does it mean anything? Does it matter? What do you think? Your business is at the opposite spectrum, so I'm very interested in...
Yes and no, because tailoring, I mean, let's face it also, you know, tailoring is probably the biggest trend that is coming out in the last, like, 2 or 3 years. I mean, everyone is standing... No, but not this tailoring, but everyone is standing into the tailoring side, you know, at the moment.
It's the hoodie fatigue. Sorry.
Yes, exactly.
You look fantastic, but it's the...
Oh, no, completely. You know, yes, 100%. So everyone is standing into the tailoring, looking at the tailoring. We're looking at the tailoring as well. And everyone does. But there is a lot of tailoring out there, and you have to offer something that speaks and talks a different perspective. If his business is made by these suits, he's selling really well this type of suits, I'm sure he does, then he's in a place where he doesn't perhaps need to prove something because...
Yeah, but why do you put them on a catwalk? I mean, we don't care when they were designed. They could have been designed 2 years ago.
Yes.
And again, they're right for Armani, they're certainly elegant, but my question is, and probably it brings me into the question, what's a catwalk for?
That's a really good question.
I mean,
actually.
I had this problem with Karelis when I was consulting with them, and probably Mr. Zegna's had the same prep. You know, they can't really be different than what they are because they have clients and they're successful. But then, why even bothering? Or should they bother?
It's just a very, to me, a fashion show is a very, very old format, which pretty soon is going to change. And I think that the emerging designers, yes, it will. Emerging designers are changing their format 100%. I mean, I know very successful brands that they never done a show or presentation, and they're doing really well. And I'm not just talking commercial sales, I'm talking about like also the impact image and everything. And I think that...
image-wise,
sorry. Yeah, no worries, image-wise. And then I know that more and more brands are looking into this type of format from the young ones, from the young emerging designers, because they cannot afford to do a show. It's super expensive, and also they don't understand what's the point of it anymore, because it's something extremely elitist. It's for a very small period, it's 10-15 minutes to put a huge production with huge money into it, and then where all this goes like on social media perhaps, and a press release. Well, you can do these formats with like putting half of your money into like something, a really cool film or a beautiful lookbook, and you present it.
Does it have the same impact in the world?
I'll tell you what, it doesn't have an impact. It doesn't have an impact on the printed magazines because they want the catwalk images to be able to be featured. However, now with like everyone goes online, they can present the collections in a different way. There are designers that they don't do anything, but they are the coolest. Martine Rose from London, Fashion Week.
She didn't this year, but she also just had a child.
Yes, but Alix, Matt Williams,
she
never.
Yeah, but
showed.
well, let me challenge you on this.
Yes,
Who knows, Alex? I mean, don't think of your circle. Don't think of us. I have to know Alex because I'm doing this job. But go out in the street.
I
Even in London.
I am in the street. That's why I'm saying to you that because I know the sales and I know the store list and also the price that is coming out for Alix. It's one of the really successful brands that are coming up there. It's not just a
very
hype
well
thing.
deserved.
Very well deserved, yeah.
Okay.
And a lot of work that has been put into this brand. But it's not just them. It's a lot of people at the moment are relooking the format of shows and presentation. I'm not saying that it's going to disappear. I'm just saying that, you know, it's not only one thing. For Giorgio Armani, and I think this is exactly the opposite from Prada, for example, is that perhaps he doesn't have any more the pressure, you know, of you have.
He certainly doesn't know what to do with his money and
because
his company after.
You know, he doesn't have perhaps the pressure to be like, I want to be the coolest, or I want to push the trends in a way that no one else is doing. So he kind of like enjoys what he likes to do.
Well. We just saw his couture show in Paris, and I know we're talking men here, but he did a couture collection that was really weird because it was all short and an effort to appeal to young women that were couture. So he does have a little bit of pressure. He certainly doesn't have financial pressure.
I'm guessing everyone has.
His company is his only, and he's now 84 or 85. There's no succession plan. He has no children. So, you know, there's no money pressure. However, you know, there is a big ego there, and these people have been standing, you know, the Giorgio Armani's, the Karl Lagerfeld, they've been standing forever. They made fashion the way we know it today.
We owe them.
And then there's you know, there's the Alessandros and the Demna and the Sunnei, and these kids on the block arriving and changing the system. But yet again, I wonder if this particular show, apart from Armani, it needs to open and close Milan with Armani and Emporio. That's the institution of Milan and the business that goes into press and commerce and whatever. Oh, I mean, will you remember this?
No.
But maybe you would wear that leather coat because it's beautiful.
I might.
But it's
no. It's not a turning point for me, you know, this show. Not. But also at the same time, it doesn't need everything to be, because I think it's almost like amount of information. We have too much information right now, even from the fashion industry.
Yes.
So I think it cannot be that everyone is going to be on the front line and everyone is going to finish that line first. You know, they're going to be the seconds, they're going to be the thirds, they're going to be the fourth. And this is going to change sometimes. What we are sometimes more hard on our criticism is for the people that we expect them to finish first and the finishing second or third. And this is when we become, I think, harder because our expectations are higher. With some other brands, our expectations perhaps are not as high, so we take it as a given. And this is my take on a brand like Giorgio Armani, and this is a take of mine as a brand as Prada, because perhaps my expectations are much higher for that.
That's for sure. Well, on these words, thank you very much for doing this with me, and I hope to see you in the next season.
Yes, me too.